Okay. I know ads are still running. Normally I'll wait for them to finish, but it's already late enough. How are you doing today, sir? Where's my hype emoji? I don't have a hype emoji. I don't have any. I barely have any emojis. This is a bare bones stream. Oh, that's Rambling Geeks. I like Rambling Geeks. It's a little robot with hype. So steal it. And the one I put on yesterday, that's Rambling Geek. He wore a big fluffy sweater one day, and he looked like an Ewok. So that's where that other one comes from. Yeah, I like Rambling Geeks emojis. Definitely. Um, yeah, I've thought about getting new emotes and stuff, but it's not really. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, what does BMO mean? Be more. Be more. Okay. Thank you for this education. I am now better. Okay, so um, where was I? Okay, so I am still on my quest to completely break my own system, gut everything, and change how I handle pretty much every piece. So I started the process of moving. I started moving towards getting the user profile to contain the name, so that that becomes a user-owned thing rather than a tenant or an organization-owned thing. And I opened up a can of worms because it relied upon a lot more things changing and getting rid of specific data, etc. Yep, vector robot. Yep, that's it. Yeah, it's a vector. Yeah, yeah, they were pretty cool. I have one somewhere as well. I never got to play with properly. They kind of shut it down. Then they kind of yeah. I got one. I wanted to do some programming too, but I never got to it. Yeah, another thing. You think you know a person. Yeah. So anyway, do do do. So we are going to this. Need to move to be active, more active to be a membership concern. We should rename tenant users to tenant membership and move active from the user to the membership. And Dottie, hello, how you doing? So update tenant management for membership. Um, uh, yes, user creation should be set as a inactive on a creation. Yes, so that's what I'm at right this second. So I'm kind of considering how I do that. Um, right now, when a when user data is published within tenant management, we have user created, user updated. We publish the integration, goes to a user publisher, and we publish this information. So this field needs to be removed. And this needs to tenant membership was registered as administrator first tenant. Yeah. So that one is literally if it's the first if it's the first user on the tenant, then we assign them as the administrator by default. So we set all the permissions to be full. But anyway, that's another thing. Oh, Joe, good morning. I do apologize for the late stream start. I woke up at the normal stream start and the dogs needed to be taken out, so I had to do that. So yeah. So Jesus. So this event is going to this tenant membership integration event is going to carry active now. User created loses that publishers user publisher. Gotta organize. So this is going to disappear off here, and then if I do that, that should tell me what pieces I need to touch on the other side. The tenant membership. I'm trying to make sure that I'm attacking this wholly rather than piecemeal. Like just, oh, I need this field to move. I need this field to move. I want to make sure that I'm at least keeping things making sense from a behavioral perspective. I'm still debating. So active is a tenant level concern because it's you set that user as active in your tenant. User itself, I'm going to leave in tenant management for right now, but user, that kind of suggests that my internal identity stuff becomes more less of a side service and more of an actual module. So this piece here, because that's where I think naturally your user profile exists. I think that might become basically a component at this level because it would have APIs, etc., that are accessible from outside, and then the one API call is accessible in. But that would be weird because this piece is not authorized on the internal token right now, and somewhat unnecessarily, as I've had it raised by review of this, that right now it actually does authorize with the auth0 token, so you can't just get into here. But it starts to make me think that this area, this identity, becomes a component and owns who you are, because tenant management owning the user, but a tenant having a membership for a user. The language is confusing me already. I don't know where I would go look if someone said, "Oh, you need to update your user profile." You confuse me. I try. Yeah. Okay. Emotionally. Um, but I've got to make this. I can't make one massive change again. I've already got a ton of stuff uh, outstanding here. So, what can I do? Can I do? Marcy, hello. How you doing? And Dukesoft, thank you for the first. And maybe thank you for your first. How you doing? Apologies for my later start. I woke up at 7 a.m. and maybe he was like texting me, "Where's the stream? Why aren't you streaming?" And yeah, I'm tired. Sorry. Okay, so user put post. Let's go from work. It's weekend for me. Got first stream start. Nice. Nice. So I removed active from here, and funnily enough, I never actually had active working in here. It does beg the question, do I actually deal with active? And from what level? That would have been a rough start to your day. Go into the office and be like, oh, yeah, back home I go. Apparently, it's meant to feel like 101 degrees today. Awesome. I just shadow someone all day. Yeah, do need to work anyway. I mean, there is that. Yeah. Morning, Doctor, by the way. So I have opened up a massive can of worms here myself, because what I've done is changed. It's the right thing to do, right? Okay, so let me go to here. So right now I have active, and active is handled at the user level technically, but it should be handled at the tenant level. And I apologize if I've said this multiple times. I'm just trying to make sure I'm walking through it myself. Um, I went to an art show and one of the artists cancelled because it was too hot. Wow, 84 Fahrenheit. It is currently 78 here due to hit into the 90s, but we have 95% humidity. Would imagine it'd be worse for Mojo. Saying things out loud works wonders. It does. What I'm trying to the problem is I've picked to do something very small, right? I've chosen to do, and this is actually, you know, it's not unusual for me. I've seen this happen many times, right? So I'm trying to do a profile card, right? I'm trying to do something kind of small, and I could, in theory, have that working with what I have now. But to do that properly, I need to have isolation of of some of that data. It needs to belong to it's not raining but somehow wet, 70 degrees in that. Yeah, so same humidity. I don't talk about weather at work now because it's too good compared to the States. um, but this is um, yeah, it's rough. This is this happens, right? We think something's very small and easy, but then we realize we've made design decisions that make that a lot harder. And it's why when you get a story, um, you really should, and a lot of developers don't because they think, oh, I know the system, I know this, right? You should go and look at what the system does. Um, I did when I created this. Know I was opening something up, but yeah. And realistically, I only reviewed this because I was looking at where would I put the time zone and where would I put the extra information, and I started to feel uncomfortable about how much I was manipulating the user, and then looking at it, I was like, well, if I manipulate that user, that's the same user for cross tenants, and I still want to maintain that behavior. Um, we're looking at the claims of one-day stories and then how to practically get stories to finish time down. Well, again, it very much depends on how your team, your project, everything's built, whether you can achieve a one-day story, right? Like if you're building small and delivering small, then one-day story is a little bit more feasible. But anyway, unless you go 100% picture exactly how you're going to do it, give extra points. Bad. Uh, um, but you've got to identify the unknowns, right? You should identify the unknowns, and that's what matters. I just realized I don't have my plugins installed. That's what's missing. Okay. All right, I'm in the car now. Have a bug-free day, everyone. No joke. Talk to you later. So far, I think PR review processes, observability, and testing are key. Yeah. But every team's different. So anyway, by moving this stuff around, I have to decide where I'm going to manage the user, because right now I can put the name, email, identifier, permissions, and even this is not. So this is uh, review processes because the review can easily be longer than the coding time. Observability because the easier releasing is, and seeing if something is broken means less fear in releasing, and testing because it needs less review. Yeah, yeah. Mastrap, welcome in. By the way, just slide into that conversation so nicely. I'm like, not even realizing it's the first time I saw your name, and that's the second streamer Rob done that. So my apologies. Welcome in. Um, this is so what I'm debating right this second is I have this put for updating the user profile, but even permissions belongs to the tenant, right? Email can't change. Name belongs to the user. So this entire endpoint is useless because update user, this doesn't actually exist. Apply user permissions or update user permissions is its own thing. We go to the users again. Actually, let's do that in here. Uh, ideas, new notes. Can I paste an image in there? I can't draw in it, can I? Kind of paste it in new drawing. There we go. I can't paste it there. Okay. Wrong repository service exchange permissions. No, wrong ownership. So take this, right? That is tenant, right? That is user. That is tenant. That can't be changed because that is invite user, not add user, because you don't ever add a user to the system. You just invite them and they join. Welcome to my design meeting. This is user owned because their name is not my concern. If they put an offensive name in, obviously that's a challenge. But and this is a tenant, right? So right now, what I have as one potential object, one potential entity, is not in any way one potential entity. And again, I think that review user ownership. New tab. A new tab. I don't like. I can't double click and make it open a new tab. But again, I'm starting to feel that the right thing to do is have either part of this become a component, because when you log in and you get your user, like you get your token, that is your user. That's who they are. So their user profile information technically lives here, not anywhere else, and that is challenging me. One button, that's two API calls. Yeah. Not right now, no. Yes, actually, it does. Yes, it does. Technically, right now, it saves the teams and then it saves the user profile, which is fine. I have no issue with that. If one fails, the other one doesn't happen. That's fine. But ultimately, I think this is wrong. Dive into the team swimming pool for an online meeting about bugs. Okay, Marcy, thank you for the look. Appreciate it. So let's take that again. Let's try something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up Claude design. right? I'm going to use Claude Design, new chat. I have a user management screen. Um, missions and teams are actually controllable and by the organization. However, name and email not within that control. So add user button. And this also gets into if I, there's a whole thing like in Jira, when you go and you get a URL for going to an organization, so whatever.jira.com, Atlassian.com, whatever it is, you can log in. SSO logins work against that as long as that's an allowed tenant, right? So um, yeah, we have that. The add user button is really invite user as join. The user owns the name, the email, identical. So we're just going to give that a few minutes to churn on that just to see, because sometimes the design can very much help you think about something differently because the lines are clearer. Sometimes it can blur the lines, right? It can a design that is trying to. Because I've seen lots of designs where people try to get everything together, and then the developers take that and try and build that, right? And it's not always the right thing. So I'm just trying to approach this from multiple directions. But ultimately, what I don't want to do is essentially this doesn't belong, right? Um, this is really membership, not that's create new user workflow. That's not that's invite new user workflow. I think invite is actually a thing. Yeah, invite user is a thing. But that's called from 25 usages. Create new user workflow. Yeah, so that's the invite user is called from there. So this create new user workflow is actually invite user workflow. And this is not, oh man, I am just breaking my entire core system. But I think it's a good thing to do. I think it's the right thing to do. Yeah, still churning away. So again, the flow here is invite user. User accepts. I have a question, something I've been spending brain cycles on. When your async methods fail and you log the error on the response, do you include in the error on the calling parameters? I think of a uniform way to do that just automatically, since I think the implications are huge. Your async methods fail, you log the error on the response. Do you include in the error the calling parameters? Um, if it's relevant to the find user, when that fails, you want to see what user ID is as well as the stat trace error itself. Um, yeah, you've got to be careful how much you log. Because if you log emails, you've got a data problem because you've got then people's emails in your logs. If you do it like again, if you do it blanket, you're going to end up with adding too much information. So it's more tactic. Like I always consider, like right now, there's no logging. There's logging obviously in Liquid Sky, but you don't see a lot of logs. You don't see a lot of try catches because as I'm developing, I want things to blow up and to be able to go and decide whether they actually are something that should be handled. And I'll do a pass later of trying to strengthen up things by doing that. So I'll see a lot through development. So I was thinking inside find user, try catch, rethrow, and then pick out the parameters that I'm allowed to rethrow. Yeah, I mean it's a way. Um, Again, why would it be like to me? I'm not going to put a preemptive try catch around find user because the reality is I should have like I should understand the use cases of that. And if it throws an exception, I know, oh, something's going wrong. We're trying to get something we don't need. Um, and again, if it was to the user that was going up, I'd handle out a message and give them and ask them to notify us so we can go into that. So I don't feel the need to necessarily log what they're trying. I'm a big believer in making the user um, handling the user out friendly, but making sure the user can talk to us. Because they might be trying a use case we don't know about, and it might educate us. But if we're trying to preemptively fix something without context, it could be a problem. If the rethrow just included those parameters on the error, I could catch it on the middleware and log the error generically, if it's possible. So you're going to catch an exception to then rethrow the exception to then catch the exception to log it to then handle it out. I mean, I know exception handling isn't as expensive as it once was, but that does seem a little bit. And if it's possible to just generically throw errors. Observability means I can trust my error percentages. One is the request log and then response logs without any custom logging between. So the way I will handle this is I will put a right now it throws an exception. I will put a global exception handler in the APIs that handles out logs to whatever I need to log to, and then returns uh, a clean error. It doesn't you're only going to get 500 error when you get to production anyway. And then on the client, handle that as oh something didn't work and notify the user to contact support if this persists. Um, that's how I would handle that, so that exceptions things I don't expect. Now, if I'm interacting with third-party services, etc., then I do more try catch because you can't rely upon API calls or whatever from to third parties you're not in controlling. Um, yeah, I don't know if there's necessarily. I mean, there is. But still, you have the problem of collecting the parameters from where. If you have something that calls down into a method, do you put try catches at every single level? And if you have a bunch of code and each one has try catch, try catch, try catch, and what is the exception? Try catch exception is just like doesn't tell a story. It's all it just says I'm scared of something going wrong, therefore I'll catch everything. Um, Policy sharp an error resume next. Well, again, that's the catch with the rethrow, right? So essentially, I try catch either where I can recover or where a user needs to be aware. Yeah. In development, especially in development, I do not put try catches around things. I think it's a mistake to, oh, what if this goes wrong? I think you should put it around it, and when you are ready to handle that properly. And again, I put a global exception handler in there so that even if something does blow up, I still handle it neatly out to the user, but at the same time, I can log uh, or notify myself something is going wrong. So what I did initially was just do let login data equals parameters, and then add to login data whenever I call an async method, then catch in that method itself. Then rethrow the error with data attached, so I can catch on the controller generically log. Roth, hello, how you doing? Welcome in. Try catch and suppress, I think it is. So I'm going to extend it to the grander idea. Okay, if you can recover from a potential error, you should try catch around it and recover. You shouldn't leave it. It's poor UX to just show an error all the time. If you can recover from a potential error, just write code that never fails. Yeah. And to be clear, I'm not saying don't use try catch, don't handle errors better. I'm just saying during development, until I know what can go wrong, I don't write generic try catches because something might go wrong. I don't believe in that sort of defensiveness because I think you can hide problems doing it that way. I think you should see things sooner in development and make it a strategy of how do you. No, I disagree wholeheartedly with that sentiment. Defensive programming leaves lies in your code because it tells a story of this can go wrong and this can do this. Like, yeah, my code offends people. Just means you're doing it right. Yeah, if there's an error, I want to hit it as soon as possible because clearly I wasn't expecting it. Yeah, I strongly prefer my code to do exactly what I expect it to do. Yeah, I honestly believe um, error handling and logging should be a strategy that is applied rather than a global blanket for saving you from yourself. So I think, yeah, if parameters are wrong, validation is a part of it, making sure you actually same parameters But if you don't expect something, I want to see it blow up sooner. Yeah, my question is around how to log the error and fail in a place in a manner where it's easy to see from observability POV how frequent it's happening and the data need to figure out the issue. What you're describing, literally the opposite of what you're preaching. That isn't a strategy. That's a catch-all. And it's not there right now. In development, it's not there. And the only reason the catch-all is there to make sure that you do not expose internal uh, internal pieces to the end user. It's not a self-healing thing. Or it's not a catch-all in yeah. So it's trying to self-heal when you can. You understand the difference between development or not. All I'm saying is that right now, while I'm doing this and I'm not building this for to put to people, to end users, I do not put try catches in there so that I can understand where things happen as I'm developing, as I'm testing, as people are playing with this. I would put this to a test environment so people could work on this and test it before I put it to production. At that point, I would go back, I would make a deliberate effort to go through and put correct error handling in and review those things so that I understand where I'm putting them and making them a tactic so that I'm logging useful things and not just everything. But shouldn't you know what you want to have, what you want to happen? No, I'm saying that I'm not saying I'll let fate take the wheel. I'm saying I want to discover problems in development. If I get into a pattern of try catching things during development, I then get into a pattern of logging things, and I've seen what happens when developers log everything. All I'm saying, I'm not saying I don't try catch. I'm not saying I don't uh, uh, put error handling or logging in there. I'm saying that I make it a deliberate action of review so that I understand those things in greater detail. I don't believe in giving a user a busted system that errors all the time. Yeah, you don't need to log every error. But I've seen what happens when generic try catches and logs make it into a system and developers take over. I've suffered the consequences of that on multiple occasions where there's so much logging because they just don't trust anything if they take it that way. So if a function gets called 1,000 times per day, there's more likely to be a small percentage of errors. So it makes sense to start logging and figuring out the frequencies and should we fix something. Function is called 10 times, you're more likely to get 10 successes, not hit the edge cases that cause errors. I think it's separate from using intentional try catches, that's observability. Talking about observability. Yes. There's more likely to be a small percentage of errors. I think, again, I ask myself, what can the user do? A failure is a failure. Handling them out smoothly to make sure that they have a recovery path and they understand what. If it's a parameterization thing, right? If his parameters were incorrect, then validation is the key, and returning, um, asking them to check, making sure the client is more stable. Finding those things. Is this a data issue or is it a user issue? Because user issue, validation and better management on the client can avoid those issues. A true exception, something that is not expected, is something that we don't need to know about, but the user should not suffer. There's so much a system can recover from if you push it to the user to solve their stuck. I'm not suggesting to push it to the user. I'm suggesting that better management on the client side can avoid a lot of issues. Better validation on the server side can avoid throwing exceptions and handle them out properly. So, so anyway, it's everyone's stream. Exactly. It's a good chat. Anyway, I've gone completely off the rails. I've got nothing done and I continue to struggle with this. So, well, let's see what Claude came up with. That's interesting, Claude. The access. Interesting way of doing it. Role led. No, we're not doing roles. Why it's pull roles and I don't know. Roster by life cycle. Roster by life cycle. It really wants to pull roles in here. Rather than a task, and know if I can send an email to other users, what would a user do with that information? Add the email to a queue and retry. Don't know, but the user can't do anything about that with that information. Some paths need observability, some paths just need a redraft. Okay, so if you are new to the stream, if you are interested in what we're doing, what I'm doing rather, you're more than welcome to ask questions. You're more than welcome to get opinions. If you are interested in continuing the conversation off stream, there is a Discord linked in the cards below, and all the videos, all the streams are put on YouTube. And they're streamed live to YouTube, so they're there straight after the stream as well. I stream right now. I only stream a couple of days a week. Hopefully, we'll up that a little bit in the winter. Yeah. Um, I don't disagree with your solution to that issue. In that case, I don't observability to see the frequency of the email doesn't send in high volume scenarios. Another common one on high volume is data insertion. The database might be available, but the connection pool might be full. You don't need to just stop the user progressing or tell them there's an error when they can't do anything about it. You need to identify the failure and see if it can self-heal or not. Yeah. Well, sometimes you end up picking one, but yeah, user accepts. So I'm not inspired by Claude's UI choices here. Roster by life cycle, role led with like their profile, their access, their profile doesn't really matter. The thing is, their name is it, this is a useful thing for a tenant to know, but this is the only information. Sorry, a tenant administrator, an organization administrator, to know. But the right thing to do here is to just give them the email. Um, Instead of just tell the user something is wrong, blocks the user from something they can't resolve. So this is not. This is a can of worms that I didn't expect to open, but I'm going to continue down the path because I think it's very worthwhile doing at this phase before I get too involved in this. So I'm still stuck on the idea that this is kind of who owns the user. It's the point at which we identify who you are. No, it is providing the authorization, but again, that's part of who you are for this tenant, but also who you are. I don't want to introduce another service. I think that's a wrong path. It's not a tenant and it's not an organization level thing. Uh, they're wrong. I should feel that. I think it's a work. No worries, Delta. Have a great day. Have a great day. I'll take much too long to resolve this, unfortunately. Sometimes it's experimentation. That's how you get there. That's how you change the way you look at stuff. So do something, try something, see how you feel about it. Exactly what this is, right? So right now, I have uh, the question. The questions I'm asking myself is, who owns what, and where does data belong? A user is a multifaceted thing, right? A person has their name, has their email address. Two people can't share that. Those, well, same name, but yeah. Um, the two people can't share that person's name and email. Um, the person owns the person is at a place. So that's again the information I'm trying to add here is where are you in the world? Which time zone are you in? So the person owns where they are. So I think the correct thing is not user. I need to stop using that term for this. Right. So this is tenant management membership concern. Right. So a person has a membership to a tenant, and that makes them a user of that tenant. So we invite the user. It's still a user from the system perspective. Um, what they can do and which teams they belong to are a membership concern. That definitely belongs in tenant management. I'm certain of that piece. These permissions and stuff do kind of then get out to this service. Again, I'm not committing to saying that this service is where the user owns that the person owns their information, but their name, their location, to bring. That's not what I intended to do. Keep failing at that. Right. To bring this in. Right. So with that. So again, now this is like that is their information. That is that is not controllable, which is the challenge there. Background. How do I do? There's a way of doing that. You can't. Yeah. Really. I'm just gonna. That is their information. Now, product manager is tenant, and so is team, and this is extra data. This is collectible data. Now, that's not a problem because that can be joined in the view, right? The view will condense all this information together. So I'm not particularly worried about that. I'm just trying to use it to get my head around where I'm storing this information because, again, it's not in the right place right this second. It needs to move. My day just got more interesting. It looks like IT pushed a new security policy that denied Ubuntu Network Manager. Even if they realize and push a fix, it's not going to reach me if I can't go online. Ouch. Uh, nothing like good, well thought out, intentional uh, policy changes. I meant to ask you, how are you in? I mean, I assume you're still loving the Yakuza games. I know you were playing Lost Judgment the other day. Uh, I was hanging out with you for a bit, so I've got to test these things before rolling them out to enterprise. Yeah, I mean it's Fantastic. Because games remain so much fun. Yeah, I do have a lot of them. I do want to play some. Have you played Like a Pirate? Did you play that one yet, or is that still on the list of to get to? I haven't tried the newer ones yet. I'm a little scared of the changes they made to them being a little bit more uh, a bit too extreme. Nope, that's 2 games from now. I'm doing in. Gotcha. Okay, sweet. I wondered if you just tried them, but yeah, that makes sense. That is the goal. I think I have. Is it? Uh, who's, yeah, I have a few. Judgment. Yeah, I just have a PS4 copy of the Japanese Judge Eyes because it was called Judge Eyes in Japan, right? Um, I don't know if that's before they changed the voice line though. The voice lines from the one of the characters. Yeah, I sure haven't played a bad Yakuza game yet. I've only got 2 left. Nice. Yeah, they're fun. They're definitely fun. Gotta find time to go through them. So if you don't know, you haven't been in the stream before. I also do love video games. Um, I do collect video games, so it is a another passion. This site I just showed is my game tracking site. These are games I actually own. I have the library. This is what I use for the stream. I do have a bot set up, so I can create shelves of games I want to play, and then I can hook my bot into them so they become part of the overlay. Um, yeah, so I can create shelves and then share them on stream. So that's why the API is linked there. So I can do collection and it'll show you the games and you can bring up these cards on the stream overlay. Yeah, I do want to get back into doing the game streams though. I don't stream. Thank you to actually, let me do it this way. You want to go and hang out and watch games, a nice chill environment. Roth is a great streamer, streams a lot. But it's thanks to him that I also have my game channel. My game streams go on that channel. So I game stream on TBD Developer and dev stream on TBD Gamer. Yeah. So yeah, that's that. That's hooked into an API, and I built an overlay bot. So I have commands in my game stream allow you to say, "Hey, what game are you playing?" Get information about it, link out to all the stuff. So and it does all the artwork and stuff. So yeah, but I will get back to that soon. I promise. It is on the list. I just got to find some games that I can really engage with and spend a good amount of time on. Yeah, that still makes me chuckle. Yeah. I don't like to blur the lines. That's why I decided to do the 2 streams. I like the idea of having game streams completely separate from dev streams, so you know what you're seeing when you see my stream go up. Okay, but anyway, I've still got to figure this out. This is not an easy challenge, right? This is we're here for you, not the content. Great, disappointing in both ways. Um, so what I'm trying to do is make sure that I'm not just trying to fit a completely different opinion into the code I have. I am okay with like changing the code, changing where things live, etc. I've just got to decide. I'm trying to not just jump straight into the idea that this is where your information is, like your time zone, etc. Which would make sense because you could put that then on the token, and that information is available. Uh, wouldn't be necessary though. So yeah, I'm trying not to put it in there, but it doesn't feel like it belongs there. There's a tension there that I'm feeling and I'm listening to make sure I do the right thing. I solved that by not having done a reverse engineering stream in 3 years. But I find an excuse to do those again. People find those sorts of things very fascinating. Uh, I like looking at different styles of programming and different things. It's yeah. But however, we only managed a short stream today because I I decided sleep was really important. Um, yeah, I've got some thinking to do. I've got some real thinking to do on how I really want to lay this out. Um, I'm not trying to do the quick thing here. I'm trying to do the right thing because this will set me up in a much better way for everything else. So it was a good choice to do this, if a little difficult, and it's opened a can of worms. But this is exactly why planning and preparation is necessary. If you're working on a product and you think you know what it does, and someone asks for something like this is a simple request. This definitely could come from a product manager, right? Like, hey, I want to see a nice card that has information. But then it's like the information's not in the right places and it's not owned by the right pieces to do this cleanly. Now I can make it work, right? I could make it so that the user profile updates part of the user and that this updates part of the user, and it would work, but is it the right thing to do? Because again, that information for the user isn't, or the person isn't shared across. It doesn't get copied. It's, I am the same person no matter which tenant I'm in, and my time zone doesn't change because I'm only in one place. So how do I tackle that properly? I don't want to hack it in because it is fundamental to everything else that I'm doing going forward. Like when I get to notifications, when I get to um, email, the next phase is to get the notifications in there. Well, I say, hey, I want the notification at 4 a.m. Like the time zone of the user, I know which time zone they mean when they say 4 a.m. It's not my 4 a.m. It's not UTC. It is 4 a.m. their time. So I can make adjustments there, but it is kind of core to what Kaizu does. So yeah, that was. I know I've spent several streams on this now, which I didn't expect to do. I expected to kind of knock this out. You're not storing UTC. Everything is stored UTC. What I'm talking about is knowing what their time zone is, so I can adjust that. I store UTC. I do not store local date times. No. Yeah, everything is UTC based. I'm not a complete amateur. I'm bad. I'm not that bad. So um, yeah. So this has opened up quite a challenge of refactoring and changes. Now on the user side, like I said before, when I get to displaying that card, it will be simpler because there is one view database. All this information will be pulled together into one database that I can aggregate it into that database, so I can pull it. It's just where do I store it? Which endpoints update it? You know, what should I be able to do? And again, I think a user should be able to update their profile, but not anybody else's profile, right? Because it's where they are, etc. If I add phone number, etc., in there later, those are things that um, should be accessible to that user, not to anybody else. So yeah. But anyway, it is almost 8:45. I do have a job to get done. I have a lot of planning and stuff to do today. So we need more .NET streamers. Anybody got any suggestions for today? Master, you would love a collection video. You mean a stream me showing my games? That should appear in reverse order. Tanner's dead joke. Yeah. Yeah. Well, one day, definitely. But yeah, it is. It is. If you are interested, follow TBD Developer. I will try and get game streams up there soon. That is a great game, by the way. Even if it's a bit silly, it is actually a fun platformer. Um, yeah, I have almost 2,000 games, and this app is available if you actually do collect physical games yourself. You can actually use this. Sign in with Google, and yeah, you can share libraries with other people. And the purpose of this app, by the way, is to allow my wife to get access to it. So I actually do share uh, with her, and she's able to then see what games I have. So if she decides to buy me a gift, she can go and look it up first. So yeah, uh, but but yes. Anyway, okay. So we need to raid someone. We've got 21 people apparently. I do appreciate everyone keep coming back and keep hanging out with me. Again, if you have questions, thoughts, opinions, whether you're a new programmer or you're an experienced programmer, I always want to take people's inputs and ideas and questions and learn from them myself. I'm not perfect. I get better by talking to other people, by testing my ideas against like the error handling conversation. Those sorts of things help you become a better developer, even if they're challenging, because you have a way of thinking. It is always a good idea to try and change your perspective to understand how you might do something better or why you do something, etc. So it's always very good and valuable to have conversations. So I'm always open to them, and I do enjoy them. And you're more than welcome to continue them on in the Discord if you wish. We rated Leia the other day. Layla, sorry, Leia. Um, uh, Hopefully Stoney's streaming later on. Um, I refuse to change my perspective. I'm too old now. Don't be that programmer. Don't be that programmer. That's that's the that's the developer I never wanted to be. So anyway, let's go raid into Dylan. Dylan's the only one doing. He's hacking on Pi, Herder, and side projects. So we'll go raid Dylan again. Um, yeah, I will be back next week. I will continue to work on this. I mean, I'm hoping I can get some of this done in the next couple of days. I actually am away all weekend, so I won't get any code done over the weekend. But yeah, I might start up an impromptu stream Monday afternoon because I am off work. So thank you very much for coming joining me. Thank you for um, the chat, and have a great weekend. I'll see you all again very soon. I need my stream deck set up again. Take care all. Bye.